All right. There's a new HBO Max documentary coming out. It's a 10-part docuseries. Each episode will focus on a true crime story, and one of the episodes will feature Danbury, Connecticut, Tuxedo Junction, and Ian Bick. It's called Generation Hustle. Debuts April 22nd. Joining the show now is Ian Bick. Ian.
Hey, Ian.
Hey, guys. How you doing? Thanks for having me.
Sure, man.
You got it. So you and I have been communicating over the last couple days. Let's just break down what we know to be fact and see what, first of all, you'll admit to. You were in 2016, you were convicted of what?
Well, so actually the trial was in 2015, and in November of 2015, I was convicted of money laundering and wire fraud. Those were the two counts. And there was multiple counts, but yeah.
Based on what we saw in the teaser of the documentary, it sounds like you're saying you didn't know you were committing a crime.
So at first, when I first started out, I wasn't aware I was committing a crime, and I didn't intend to commit a crime. But as the story develops and as I kind of see everything going on, it's pretty clear that there's fraudulent behavior and crimes being committed. And there was even crimes that never even came out that were kind of all lumped in together with it.
Your victims are local people. This is kind of where I have the problem with this, and I hope you'll understand our dilemma. So it's highly likely, we're a very popular radio station, that someone who's listened to us for years and has been loyal to us now has to listen to you promote a documentary about what went on, and you took their money and spent it on yourself. What am I supposed to say to those people?
I think I think there's a couple different things about this. I think one, this is a good opportunity for me to be able to pay back all the money owed faster, not specifically from like this documentary, but what this documentary can lead to. It'll open a lot of doors, and it would be a much faster route of paying people back than, say, me working a job and paying a monthly amount.
You, in the new News Times article, you talked about, and I'm paraphrasing, that you were cocky back then. A lot of the mail we've gotten on the article that I wrote about you, it's not been kind, put it that way. There's a lot of name calling, but I get the sense that people do not perceive you as feeling any remorse for your crimes.
I think people that say that, they don't really know me personally. I think if you talk to someone that knows me, that either works with me or that's friends with me, they would know how bad I feel about the whole situation, and everything that I had went through, and the pain and suffering on all parties, from the victims to me to people that were kind of just caught in between. But I look at the whole thing now that we're years past, as a really big learning experience, and I would never make those same mistakes again.
How is that structured? So the court tells you have to pay back. How much money in question? Is it $500,000? Is that an accurate number?
So it's not even $500,000. I think it comes out to like $470 or $480. And the part that the News Times never really got into was that I had partners. It wasn't just me. There was multiple people involved. And one of the partners, you would think it would be like a fair split, but he was only ordered to pay like $30,000 of it, and I got stuck with the rest. It's about $470,000.
Let's talk about the News Times for a second, because I told you I'd be fair. I told you I'm not a D word, right? I said those things to you. I said that we're going to say things that maybe you don't like, but it's not because we're nasty. I do believe in second chances, but what I don't believe in is kind of like going around and pointing out what others did when we're talking about you. And you and I had a conversation about the News Times, and you brought them up again, where you're saying they got things wrong. What does that really matter in the general scheme? Your reputation still would have been smeared, because I got this sense that you think that you're smarter than everyone.
No, I wouldn't say that. I think people would understand the story a little bit better had the timeline been correct. I think they would have seen, like, like Tuxedo Junction, what it stood for. It wasn't just like some kid that stole money from people and used those funds to own this nightclub, which a lot of the smearing comes from as well, from a different point of view. And I think they would see it kind of like as a last-ditch effort. Like Tuxedo Junction, it was blood, sweat, and tears to make it work. And it wasn't anywhere near what had happened like the year prior, where all the main fraud had taken place.
Ian Bick joining the show, former owner of Tuxedo Junction. We didn't really get to the payment. How did the court tell you have? We talked about the split, and you don't think that's fair. How did the court tell you have to pay it back?
I'm not saying it's not fair, because it is what it is, but the court said that so I was ordered to pay $1,000 per month, but that's based on your income and like your living. I'd be paying $1,000 if I was, say, living with my parents at home, or I didn't have any expenses. But I can tell you right now, I'm averaging about $300 to $400 a month, and that's continuing to increase. Are
you a part of a book, writing a book right now?
So originally, when I first got out and while I was in prison, I was focused on writing a book. That kind of died out, but now it's starting back up again, now with this documentary series coming out. So things are in the works, and I imagine some things will happen this year.
So what you're basically saying is, between the book and the documentary and all these projects, you can make the money back to make your victims whole faster, right?
From the documentary, no, I don't get paid from that. But from the promotion from that, then yes, eventually, whatever that leads to, whether it's a TV series or a movie or something along those lines.
Let's talk about Tuxedo Junctions for a second, because you hijacked the legacy. And I alluded to this in my article, but, I mean, you owned it for, 2 years and change?
Yeah.
And it opened in 1985. So people like me, all different, we're talking decades here. So young people went there to, cut loose and blow off steam. And all of us have memories and stories. It's a famous club that hosted tons of national acts. And now when it comes up, your name is the first thing that comes up. Do you feel like you tarnished the legacy of the place?
I don't think I tarnished it. I think I created a new legacy for it for my generation. I think if you're someone my age that understood the acts that I was able to bring in, then it's the same way you look at Tuxedo Junction from the 1980s or 90s or early 2000s. So it's just two different generations.
Did fraud take place on Tuxedo Junction property using the company that you own to run Tuxedo Junction?
No, there was no fraud involved with Tuxedo Junction. It was 100% legitimate business. The only crimes that involved Tuxedo Junction would have been like underage selling of liquor or anything related to maybe local taxes or anything like that, or fire marshal capacities, which is something like regular business with these nightclubs happen.
Yeah, there's a lot of story. Listen, mentioning your name, writing the article, bringing this up, promoting it, there have been, you got a long road ahead of you. I wish you well, but there are people, and obviously I can't say their names because they don't want to attach their names to this, but there are people lining up to tell me stories about you that are not so great. It don't paint you in the best light. How do you feel about knowing, and when I say there are people lining up, we just had you agree, 2-3 days ago that you would do this? In that time period, I've had no less than 10 people contact me with negative stories about you as a person. There was name calling. There were things that they told me that obviously I cannot say, but how does that make you feel?
Honestly, I think that's fair. If I was them and the roles were reversed, I'd be doing the same thing. This is why I did the HBO documentary, because I'm in a position now where I could put all the dirty laundry out on the table. I can talk about everything freely. And now I'm not that person. You're not going to see an article come up that says Ian Bick is defrauding investors again, like what you would see 4 years ago while everything was going on. I have a fresh start. There's a lot of time, kind of heals a lot of things, and there's a big gap of time, and now it's on me. The spotlight's on me to kind of show that I've redeemed myself. I'm a changed person, and I'm trying to make things right. And I think people, to some degree, should kind of just see everything unravel, watch a documentary, see all sides to the story, and then form an opinion on that. The way they thought
I agree that time heals all things, but I would say that there are people who will make the case that you're picking at a scab here and you mentioned it earlier. You think you could pay the money back faster doing these types of projects, but what if people want, your victims or anyone affected by this would rather see you work a hard job to pay the money back rather than, do a documentary or write a book?
I don't think anyone wants to see that. I think people wanted to a lot of these people were my friends, people that had lost money I still talk to today. I'm friendly with the majority of them. And I think that at the end of the day, people just want their money back or would hope to get their money back. I don't think it matters really what degree. I did my time. I went to prison. I had a lot of suffering. Even running tuxedos was a lot of suffering. And I still suffered for many years after that. And to say I don't work hard now would be a severe understatement.
You talked about partners that you had. Were they convicted of the crime as well? And if not, well, let's hit that one first. Was anyone else convicted? Because not all of us are as familiar with your cases as you might believe.
So my partner, John Roble, who is listed on all the court documents, he just got hit with a slap on the wrist, which was lying to the banking commission, which was a misdemeanor, and he got probation in the state because the feds wanted him to just flip on me.
Do you have a relationship with him now?
He talks to me. He didn't want me to do the documentary because it would shine a bad light on him, but HBO offered to interview him, and he declined, but that's on him. But we were best friends. Like we rode through everything together, and he stuck by my side up until like a week before the trial.
Are there people that engaged in criminal activity with you that were not named in court documents, not brought up on charges, not convicted?
Not related to fraud, I would say. Maybe there was other stuff, like if anyone was like doing money laundering or like wherever people got their funds from. But that wasn't. I'm not a snitch. I'm not going to put people's business out there. But really, in regards to the fraud aspect, there was specifically John Roble, and then there was this kid from Bethel that was also charged on a separate federal indictment.
Okay, there you go. Ethan, you have anything?
No, I just was going to ask you, what do you think that he should do to make amends? Because it sounds like you don't approve of what he's doing now.
No, I believe in second chances. When I said that to him, I meant it. You and I have a responsibility to be representative of the feelings of our listening audience as much as we possibly can. And the audience has spoken in many different forms, digitally and otherwise, and they're not happy with him on a promotional tour for a documentary and maybe a book and whatever else.
But you don't know. Maybe this documentary is going to be a lesson to people like the old Ian Bick when he was money laundering and he was running a scam. And we haven't seen it, but maybe the documentary will be a learning experience as to don't do this.
I hope it is. I don't have a problem with Ian. Yeah. I told him that. I don't know him.
Right.
And I can relate better than anyone in terms of they hear stories about you, rumors. Constantly people are saying that they know who I am. Wait till you hear this story about this guy. Some of it's true, some of it isn't. So I can understand that aspect of it and what he may be going through. There's probably a lot of false narrative about who he is as a person.
He's still on the phone, by the way.
My responsibility and yours is to be as representative of our listeners as possible, and they are not happy.
Well, I want to believe that you, Ian, know what you did was horribly wrong. You paid the price, and that you have a new outlook, and you're trying to make amends. And I hope that's the case.
And I think you'll really see that in the documentary. The documentary to me was like closure. I was able to talk about everything because I was never able to talk about it in a free forum when I was going through all the cases and everything. I wasn't allowed to speak freely. So now I'm able to answer like the raw, really true statements. And George, even the director of the series, mentioned that in the News Times article yesterday. But that's what made me a good person of interest to focus on. There was no hiding anything. It's over with. I have nothing to benefit from not telling the truth.
Well, we Thank you for joining us. And
Yeah.